Good evening, church. Thank you for those songs, John, and others who led. Our eyes are very, very important. Some people who don't have very good eyesight really would like to have that. Some people don't have eyesight at all. I remember studying the eye. I wanted to show you a chart, but I don't have a chart of it. I could have got one, but I thought, well, I might get into too much detail. But there's various parts of the eye and how significant each part is to the whole, and how much of an evidence the eye is for the existence of God. It's a pretty complicated device. In fact, I was reading about what it would take to create a camera that works as well as our eyes. Now, I know they've got zoom cameras out there that can see a long way off, but it would be a pretty expensive camera that can do all of the things that the eye can do naturally. And I say naturally. God gave us these abilities to do these things. So the eye is a pretty amazing thing. It gives us not only images, but it gives us the ability to translate those images. It would be something if we were sitting in here and we couldn't recognize each other because we didn't understand the images that we were seeing. We just saw some images, but what does that mean? Well, thankfully, we have the ability, with all of the other things that connect to our eyes, we have the ability to interpret all of those things that we see as well. The colors, the black and whites, everything. Some of us don't have black and white. Don't have color. I was pointing at you, but I'm thinking of somebody that's like you, works in construction type of thing. And it's an interesting thing when some people are colorblind or can't see any colors at all. I think that they appreciate just having the ability to see. We need our eyesight. Someone asked me a while back if I had to choose between one or the other, would I choose my hearing or would I choose my eyesight? And for me, it's automatic. I would choose my eyesight. However, being able to hear is a really, really big deal too. But our eyesight is so important for us to be able to function in our society, or just even in a room. Can you turn out the lights and walk through the same room that when the lights were on just a moment ago? Makes a big difference, doesn't it? Even if you knew where everything was, because you're used to the lights being on, you can adjust and modify as you walk through the room. But if you turn out the lights, had you counted your steps before that point? No, a blind person might, but someone who has their eyesight depends completely on their eyesight to be able to navigate through areas. We need our eyesight. It's very helpful and it's very desirable. The story that we're going to look at tonight is in Luke chapter 16, and I want to begin with the point where it talks about the eyes. So it was that the beggar died and was carried by the angels to Abraham's bosom, and the rich man also died and was buried, and being in torments, he lifted up his eyes and saw Abraham afar off and Lazarus in his bosom. What we're going to do is we're going to look through this story. I want to read the whole thing at some point, but as we look through this story, we're going to see some things that the rich man saw when he opened his eyes. When he lifted up his eyes in torment, there are some things that he also either saw or he interpreted and understood from that point, from his perspective. And so we're going to do that. We're going to look at this story. When the rich man opened his eyes, he saw more than just fire and brimstone. He saw eternity. He saw regrets. He saw lost opportunities. When the rich man opened his eyes, he saw nothing as important as his soul. Let's go ahead and read this story. I should have my Bible over there already. Luke chapter 16, verses 22. Verses 19, there was a certain rich man who was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day, but there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, full of sores, who was laid at his gate, desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. So it was, the beggar died and was carried by the angels to Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And being in torments in Hades, he lifted up his eyes and saw Abraham afar off and Lazarus in his bosom. Then he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of the finger in water, the tip of his finger in water, and cool my tongue, for I am in torment in this flame. But Abraham said, Son, remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and you are tormented. And besides all this, between us and you there is a great gulf fixed, so that those who want to pass from here to you cannot, nor can those from there pass to us. Then he said, I beg you therefore, Father, that you would send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, that he may testify to them, lest they also come to this place of torment. Abraham said to him, They have Moses and the prophets. Let them hear them. And he said, No, Father Abraham, but if one goes to them from the dead, they will repent. But he said to him, If they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded though one rise from the dead. There's a lot of things that I'm not going to cover in this story this evening. There's just not going to be enough time. But I want to say that as we look through this, we're going to look at several different things. We're going to look at a lot of things, but we certainly won't be able to cover it all. But he saw nothing as important as his own soul as he lifted up his eyes. At that point, the most important thing to him was his soul, and nothing else was as important. His riches and all the luxuries that he had, he didn't care about all of those things. He just wanted out of the torment. The fine robes and fine linen that he had didn't matter. The size of his castle didn't matter. The banquets of fine foods, that didn't mean anything to him at that point. He just wanted just a little drop off the tip of the finger of Lazarus. It's interesting that he has a little bit of his history in there. He seems to think that he's a master over Lazarus at this point. He's lost that ability as well. He doesn't have all of the fine jewelry that he had. When the rich man lifted up his eyes, he saw that in 1 Timothy 6 verse 7, For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. He understood that he couldn't do any of that anymore. He saw that there is no profit to a man if he gain the whole world, Matthew 16 verse 26, and loses his own soul. For what will a man give in exchange for his soul? What would that man, that rich man, give at this point now? He would have given anything. In Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5, Let your conduct be without covetousness. Be content with such things as you have, for he himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. When we or anyone else lifts up their eyes in torment like this, we'll wish we had God at that point. But this is a place where God is separate, and God is not ever going to be a part of this. The God that we know is light. In this place, it's a place of darkness. Where we know God is love, this is a place without it. What would he give at this point? So we look at this story and we see a lot of things that this man lifted up. His rich man lifted up his eyes and saw things that he hadn't paid attention to before. When the rich man lifted up his eyes, he saw the importance of mercy as well. He did not argue over the injustice of being in torment. A lot of people today use that phrase. It's just not fair. It's just not fair. But I'm telling you right now, God is a God of justice. We don't really want fairness. What we want is mercy. And that's what he was asking for as well. He saw the importance of mercy. He didn't ask, why am I in this place? He didn't ask, why is Lazarus over there in that place? He didn't say it's not fair. He just knew he was where he belonged. He didn't want to be there, but the only thing he could ask for at that point was mercy. That's the only thing he knew. And that's the only thing he saw, that he needed mercy. When the rich man lifted his eyes, he saw that blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Matthew 5, verse 7. In Matthew 18, verse 23 to 30, we read about the story of the unmerciful steward. This fella who had everything, lost it, owed the king a lot, wouldn't pay it back, couldn't pay it back, wasn't able to pay it back. And he asked for mercy. Well, that man who received the mercy had no mercy for the one who owed him just a little bit. He understood mercy when he was thrown into the depths of that prison for the rest of his life, to only come out when he could pay back what he could not pay back. He wanted mercy again then, but then it's too late. In Luke chapter 10, verse 37, we read the story of the Good Samaritan. We see what the example of mercy is. We see someone who has fallen in harm's way, and someone else gives them mercy. We understand the principle and the concept of mercy. And don't we all want it? Yes, we do. If that's the case, we also need to be givers of it while we're here on this planet. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Those who are merciless will see what the rich man sees in this story where he lifted up his eyes. When the rich man lifted up his eyes, he saw the importance of the truth. We like to lie to ourselves. We like to lie to others. We want to get away with things. We don't want to tell anybody the truth because we want to get away with things. We don't want to hear the truth because we don't want to have to do the right things. We want to do what we want to do. But he saw at this point, he saw the importance, the significance of truth. He saw the truth, that listening to the truth would have kept him from this place. He saw that if his brothers could hear the word of God through Moses and the prophets, they wouldn't come to that place. He could have listened, but he didn't. His brothers could listen, and they had opportunity, and they would have opportunity if they would just listen. The truth is that important. We don't want to go to a place like this. When the rich man lifted his eyes, he saw that in John chapter 38, when Jesus says, "You will know the truth, and the truth will make you free." It'll make you free from a place like that, and it'll make you free from the guilt of sin. We need to know the truth. We need to spread the truth. We need to tell the truth. We need to receive the truth. We need to accept the truth. In John chapter 14, verse 6, Jesus made this statement, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me." We need to understand that without Jesus, without the truth of Jesus, without the truth of the gospel, we're going to end up in the same place that this rich man lifted up his eyes and saw torment. We have opportunity to see the truth and know the truth now, whereas he wanted it then, and it was too late. When the rich man lifted his eyes, he saw the importance of evangelism at this point. He said, "Send Lazarus to my brothers. I don't want them to come to this place." And we've heard that misery loves company, but I'm telling you right now, it doesn't. And here's evidence of it. It does not love company. Some people try to say that it does because people who are miserable try to make other people miserable. But I'm telling you right now, if we went to a place like this, we'd be saying the same thing that this rich man says. Send somebody back to my family so that they don't come here where I am. That's what we'd be saying. We'd see the importance of truth just like the rich man did. When the rich man lifted up his eyes, he saw that vengeance is inflicted. But I'll take care of it if they don't. You don't worry about it. It'll be taken care of one way or the other. What he'd really rather have us do is come to the cross of Jesus. Come to where Jesus died and come to the place where Jesus rose from the grave, and we can see what happens to sin and what it results in. It results in death. We don't want to have any of the consequences of what we do. But I'm telling you right now, if we don't come to the cross, if we don't come to Jesus, if we don't come to the gospel, if we don't understand how important the gospel is, we're going to be seeing the things that the rich man saw instead of the things that Lazarus saw. But if we see the importance of the truth now and evangelism now, then we'll see things like Paul said, 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verses 8 and 9, "Upon those who do not know God and upon those who do not obey the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, they shall suffer the punishment of eternal destruction and exclusion from the presence of the Lord and from the glory of His might." Do we want to be excluded from all of that? Do we want to see the darkness that the rich man saw? Do we want to see and feel the torment that he saw and felt? Do we want to hear the weeping and gnashing of teeth? Do we want to be involved in the place where the worm never dies. Other descriptions, horrible, terrible descriptions. We don't like talking about this, but this is a part of the truth that we need to know so that we don't go there. We have opportunity now not to go there and lift up our eyes and see what he saw. He saw that it was important, Mark 16, 15, and 16, to go into all the world and preach the gospel to the whole creation. He who believes and is baptized will be saved, but he who does not believe will be condemned. He saw the importance of all of these things. When the rich man lifted his eyes, he saw the importance of prayer. That's exactly what he was doing when he was crying out to Abraham. He was praying. Verse 24, it says, he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me. What was he doing? He was praying. Send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. What was he doing? He was praying like he'd never prayed before. He was praying. He saw the importance of asking God for something, asking Father Abraham for something, asking Jesus for something, asking for some kind of help from some place where he wasn't getting it anymore. Because prayer didn't do a whole lot of good at this point. It didn't do any good for himself. It didn't do any good for his brothers. But I'm telling you, that's what prayer is all about. Knowing that you need something. It's prayer out of sincerity. It's not prayer because of some habit or because you have some duty. Do you think that this rich man was praying because he had a duty to pray? He didn't have a duty to pray. He had a need to pray. It wasn't some kind of a habit that he had. It was done because he needed to do it. It wasn't because of some tradition that he had encountered in his lifetime. It was because he needed this prayer. He needed something different. And as I said before, again, it was too late. But I'm telling you right now, his prayer was as sincere as anybody that you've ever heard. As sincere as a child asking its parent for something good or some mercy from them. It was sincere, but it was sincerely too late. We have the opportunity to have prayer in our lives as well. Will we take the opportunity now to do that? When the rich man lifted his eyes, he saw the weakness of excuses. We start thinking about the things that we have or that we do or that we say or we think. But I needed that. The older I get, the more I realize I don't need so many things. I've got a closet full of clothes. And I know, you know that my wardrobe has had to change recently, but there were a lot of things in there that I didn't wear anyway before. Some of it was too small. Some of it was probably not the style I wanted to wear. Like I'm the most stylish person you've ever met, right? But I needed that, or I wanted that. Or we say, I didn't have time for that. Did we not really have time for that? Or we'll say, I really didn't mean to do that. The rich man lifted up his eyes and saw how weak his excuses were. Whatever they were, whatever the excuses were, they were weak. It didn't matter anymore what the excuse was. He's an example of us, for us, not to make excuses, to do the will of God, not to disobey God. When the rich man lifted his eyes, as I've been saying throughout the lesson, he saw that it was too late to change. But it's not too late for any of us. It's not too late unless we wait until it is. Paul says this in 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 2. He says, "In an acceptable time I have heard you, and in the day of salvation I have helped you. Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation." We don't have to wait. We understand a lot of these things already. Why do we wait? That's what Ananias said to Paul. He was still Saul at the time. But while he was in Damascus, Ananias knew he understood who Jesus was at this point. And he made this simple, very clear statement. "Why do you wait? Arise and be baptized, calling on the name of the Lord." Paul didn't wait any longer. He got up, he was baptized, those scales fell from his eyes, he was able to see again, and he was forgiven of his sin. That is what he wanted and needed more than anything else, the forgiveness of his sins. This evening, if you need to obey the gospel, why do you wait? If you need to renew your faith, why do you wait? If you need the prayers of the church, why do you wait? Don't wait till it's too late like this guy. Don't wait. Do something now. Now is the time. Now is the day of salvation. If you need to respond, please come while we stand, while we sing the last song.